Yo, what's happening, everybody? So today we've just done a couple of one takes, and these are the guys that we've done the one takes with. And we're gonna do a short interview to find out a little bit more about the guys, where they come from, what they do, and their background in music, I guess. So, guys, do you want to take it away? Introduce yourselves.
Yeah, my name's Caskie, straight from the Dusty Stragglers crew.
Sylva from Dusty Stragglers 2.
Yeah, man. And yeah, we're both from South East London, obviously representing that weird accent that we got. No one else has got an accent like this, man. There's no THs in our world as well. There's only Fs. It's South.
So, Caskie, tell us a little bit about your musical background, because obviously we've been talking and I've been discovering quite a lot about you as we've been speaking, and it's interesting. Tell us your background.
Yeah, so basically, from about the age of 8 or 9 is when I started like doing drums and taking that seriously. From about 5 years of age was when I started picking up singing and stuff like this. And I just took interest in it. It was just something to keep the brain busy. I was pretty hyperactive as a kid, so it was good. It's healthy for the mind and necessary. So, it just kind of went from there really, and I moved into hip hop later on just because I was interested in patterns and metaphors, and I quite like social documentation quite a lot as well. So I think social narratives are just a lot more interesting. I'm into that, so I pay attention to that a lot more when I'm listening to hip hop. But it's always music first, to be honest. Do you know what I mean?
How deep did you get involved in the actual instrument playing and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, so I was pretty much addicted to it. So like every single day, like during school, go to my mates as well. Same thing. He had a drum kit, so I was fortunate enough that I could learn stuff there because we lived in a flat. That ain't gonna happen. You know what I mean? So I was there all the time, just like playing all the time, and I became obsessed with it. And just after that, like I went to college and I started doing that kind of thing, and learned a little bit more about production and stuff like this. And then from there, I started moving into like being a session player and got signed and did some things and bits and bobs and played with various different bands. So
What was the band you were in that did really big things?
did really big thing. Oh man, I mean, I don't even want to talk about it, but I'm going to. I'm going to. It's got to. It's part of the fucking journey, innit? Do you know what I mean? Like I hate indie rock with a passion. I've got to be honest, and I did back then as well. But me and one of my best mates, Hutch, we ended up playing in a band called the Steeples, and that was an indie rock band, and that was like probably back in '09 to about, I don't know, 2012 or 13, and it was like, it was an interesting experience. I got to experience the industry, which is what it's all about, and try and like learn something from it and see what I can do with my abilities as well. See if I can be a session player, basically stomach the things that you don't want to play and learn something from every situation. So that was what I was trying to do. And I think I've succeeded in some ways and probably failed in others, if I'm being totally honest.
The transition from being a drummer to then being a lyricist, I mean, where does that come from? Because normally it's like, if you're not a vocal person, which I'm guessing as a drummer you might have been, because you were in the background playing drums and probably going, ah!
Frustration mostly, you know what I mean? Like, trying to nail something and then just sitting there and working at it for God knows how long. And particularly if you're limited in lessons, which I was. So a lot of what I was doing was kind of self-taught sort of monkey see, monkey do type stuff. You watch the technique, watch it, learn it over and over again, and it just means that it takes a hell of a lot longer for you to understand it. But when you get it, it doesn't go. So it's like, it's a different format of learning that I stumbled across. And to try and take that into then hip-hop, I didn't even mean to. Like I loved hip-hop, and obviously we went through that thing where when we were listening to it, particularly like 99, early 2000s, is just American hip-hop, really. And we were lucky enough to get bits and bobs, and I was happy enough to hear Rodney P and like London Posse and Roots Maneuver and all them kind of things. But I knew that I was never going to be those kind of rappers because my tonality, everything about it, and I didn't want to be somebody that had to put on an accent to do it. Do you know what I mean? So I went with my gut instinct, and I mixed obviously home talk and everything like that, social narrative, and I mixed that with what I've learned from like drumming and stuff like that, just learning patterns.
At the time that you kind of started thinking, okay, I'm going to become a lyricist, I'm going to become a rapper, was the indie scene kind of dying a death? Is that why you kind of looked to go into something else?
No, do you know what? I never wanted to be a part of it from the word go. I was writing from the age of probably about 15, and I hated my bars and I hated my vocals, so I never touched it again. I went, nah, that goes in the bin. So, because, I knew, like, I tried it and I just thought, nah. And then after I heard, like, so I'd sort of like settled into the fact that I was going to be a session drummer, right? So I'm like, regardless of what happens with this project, I'm going to do a load of other stuff, but I really want to stay creative. Again, it was that thing of wanting to just make my own stuff and pick my own path. And because I was so heavily inspired by like, you know, Lewis Parker and like Jest and things like that. And then on top of that, things like Outkast, like that never left my stereo. I had every one of their albums, like all of that kind of stuff. I was like realizing, I can actually incorporate some of the musical with the lyrical, and I can sort of enjoy both worlds. You know what I mean?
When you were writing your lyrics, how did that compare to you being a drummer? Because obviously it's different dynamics. So did you feel like your creativity was more as a lyricist or as a drummer?
I felt it was probably more as a drummer, to be honest, and I was doing the lyricism because I enjoyed it, and just because I like the idea of the challenge, because I know it's a bigger challenge. To me, it is anyway. You know, convey your personality and stuff like that. You know, how you kind of hold yourself and the way you deliver your bars. There's so many different factors to what you're doing. So, like, if you care about the art form, then you sort of take it all into account.
I kind of got a little bit confused by your answer there, because you started off by saying as a drummer, but then you went on to talk about the depth of writing lyrics and stuff.
The reason why I picked that, though, is because it matches syllable patterns. So the problem is like there's ways of obviously being able to simplify something and say it in a metaphor, and then there's the other ways where you can sort of like pick your pockets and sort of make it sound interesting in terms of drums. You know what I mean?
You're still saying the drums were more creative than lyrics.
Well, yeah, I think so, yeah. For me personally, and I again, it's the way that I've taught myself. So, like, obviously, if I started writing lyrics, and I didn't really have much faith in those lyrics, so then I go and I'm still doing, like, drumming and stuff like this, and I'm staying creative, but then suddenly the lyricism's now, like, kind of coming to me. I'm starting to pick up on it, and I'm like, right, these are actually good writtens. I think I'm somewhere where this could work, and then I merged the two ideas.
Sylva, how about you?
Yeah, man, my journey kind of started by writing to grime music when I was like 12 years old or something, like 2003. From there, I kind of just developed into rap eventually, but it took quite a while. It took like 5 or 6 years or something like that for me to get into rap, but that's what kind of formulated my flows and stuff, like the skippy styles, the double time kind of, you know, themes in the hip hop. That's what kind of boosted it, you know, my grime history, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, so who was the people you were looking up to in the grime scene?
More like a So Solid crew, Nasty crew, obviously Dizzy Rascal, Wiley, Roll Deep crew.
Was So Solid grime though?
But this is before grime, I guess.
Okay.
But this is when I started writing anyway. It was like that era, you know what I mean? So I started to make music with my friend's laptop when I was like 15, 16 or something like that. Yeah, also, so a few years ago, I also got a degree in music business as well. So I'm kind of trying to round out my music knowledge, you know what I mean?
Okay, so what did you learn in music business?
Just a bunch of things, really, like...
The first thing is don't do music.
I guess, well, yeah. If you're going to get into music business, don't make sure you don't make music, is what they said.
There you go.
Yeah. That's what they said. But I did learn quite a lot. I learned, you know, how to brand yourself properly, how to approach, you know, network, how to do things like that, how to, you know, all the pre-stuff leading up to releasing something, you know, all stuff like that. But also I had like a bit of a hardship, you know, in my second year, my dad passed away, so it kind of threw everything in a bit of a cloud, but I still learned a lot while I was there, for sure.
Would you advise other people to go and take the kind of course that you went on? And obviously, sorry for your loss as well.
No problem,
Would
thank
you
you.
advise other people to take a course like that they can benefit from? Or do you think it's enough to just know about making music?
If you're an artist, it could either turn you off of it completely, or it could broaden your horizon and it can make you successful.
So explain how it affected you.
It just made me think of ways that, you know, how to like come across to an audience and stuff, like how to market myself. Obviously, I haven't really had a chance to do that as of yet too much, but I've got a lot of projects coming. But yeah, just in terms of that, you know, like branding, marketing, how to approach a crowd, how to get eyes on you. But obviously, I haven't had a chance to utilize this just yet. But
So let's put that into perspective with you being here today. So the way that you've come in to perform, is that marketing yourself? Is that part of the marketing strategy?
kind of. I mean, it's just being me, really. It's just me. Kind of. I'm a relaxed dude, you know. So I come across how I am, I guess. You know, I don't really try and big up myself as much as other rappers maybe, but I think like my lyrics should talk for themselves. You know what I mean, kind of thing. Yeah.
And if there was one piece of advice you would give any musician out there with regards, you know, the education that you pick up with regards marketing and the business strategy, what is that advice you would give people?
I would say definitely go in there with like an open mind and don't try and be too set in your ways. Listen to the teachers if you're going to get into something like this. If you're going to try and get into,
But imagine the teachers are not there. You're not on the course. What is the advice you would directly give from everything that you've learned?
if you think you're good enough, like believe in yourself and do it, man, and actually do some research into the business aspect of music as well. Don't just go in there as an artist. Like go in there with a kind of a business mind to some degree. You know what I mean, and do the research. You know, research your demographic. Research what kind of whereabouts a lot of your fans might pop off and stuff like that. You know, just things like that. I guess I could say. Yeah, do the research.
So if you didn't have the business side of it in your mind and you hadn't gone on that course, do you think it would be worth you carrying on as an artist? Or, I mean, obviously you
I
can
think
always carry on as a hobby.
I think I'd be a lot more lost. I think I'd be a kind of more of a fish out of water. You know what I mean? I wouldn't know what I was doing as much, but I think it has helped me. It did turn me off of it for a little bit, because it's a lot of crazy shit you got to deal with. But
Explain something that turned you off. One thing.
just like when I was at a music business school, but they weren't teaching you how to do hip hop. They was like pushing the indie, the rock stuff. They were pushing all these kind of acts and stuff, but they weren't really trying to look for the hip hop. So that's kind of mainstream as well. That kind of reflects the mainstream. That they're not trying to push this as much as we are. But that's just how it goes, I guess.
Back to you, like being in a band. Did you have any chart success? Anything big happen that?
Yeah, to be honest, like I don't even talk about it because, like, firstly, like it didn't really feel like that much of an achievement. If I'm being totally honest, it was one of those things where we kind of got. I'm not even going to say lucky because the two guys that headed the band obviously knew what they were doing on a business aspect, but left themselves like a big hill to climb. But yeah, it's we ended up charting and we came like 99th or something like that. And I can't remember if it was like that or 100th, like literally right at the bottom end of the chart. But we'd seen like the way things were moving anyway. I kind of knew that the chart thing was going to end pretty quickly. That like they were going to cancel that because the whole thing of trying to fix the game, rig it, make sure that you redirect the money in the right way. Like, and that's what the labels, major labels anyway, major production companies are trying to do, so cancelling the chart.
A lot of that goes on in the industry, and the general public just assume that this is all natural, the growth of certain artists like Drake and whatever's all that, but we know the truth.
Yeah.
Right, we know that that's not what happens. A lot of people get backhanders and stuff like that, and things happen. There's a lot of, hey, let's go to dinner with this person and let's befriend them and all that kind of stuff. What's your experience in all of that, or have you had experience in any of that?
I mean, like for me personally, it's more like third-party experience. You see what I mean? Somebody else has set up that situation, and I might have been there. Do you know what I mean? Like that was what I experienced, just standing on the outskirts looking in. And they're like, in this rare occasion, there was like a few celebs knocking around, like minor ones, but they're all represented by labels and stuff like that. They'd met in this bar called the Alma de Cuba. I remember it because it was in Liverpool. It was like big old Cuban chapel style. It was cool. But we were in there and you could just feel like the energy from certain industry heads that had like a little bit more money. Do you know what I mean? And they're all talking to each other about prospects and how they can make money off the next person and stuff like that. And you sort of see those patterns, and I saw a few things like that, and I was like, yeah, I can see that person's probably going to get big at some point, do you know what I mean? And it's not going to be off the back of any talent or the fact that anybody's actually knowing who
It's just
they
a
are.
case of the ducks align, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's
pretty
all
much.
it is. And those alignments are all by design. They're not a case of, like, every now and then someone will blow up because they're really good and there's no stopping them. So you as a band member, did you see that happening to other groups and thinking, why them? Why not us?
Do you know what? Funnily enough, right, I did see it once or twice. I saw it with the Zootons, but I sort of thought that was kind of deserved. But like, they were really good writers and, they collaborated really well. And I know Dave McCabe, like he's a nice guy and he's really, really good at what he does. So, those people, I saw those people like go through that kind of motion. And I think they get picked up by Sony, and unfortunately they got dropped after their second album, which is, I think they're coming back now. They've got like back touring and stuff like that. But that was who I saw go through those kind of situations,
I think a lot of people forget that this is a business.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? So when artists go into the music business, if they haven't got their business in order and then they just become the musician that basically makes demos and makes recordings and they do it for themselves, it's a whole different thing to the business. So I guess in some ways we as artists can't be mad at the industry because they're dealing with a business. They don't care
Yeah,
about us.
100%.
Yeah, 100%.
You understand?
For
So
us,
what's
it's
your...
like, for us, it's sacred. To them, it's just you know, a money-making tool. You know, so like we can't expect them to see see things through our eyes. You know,
If you could change anything, being on both sides, what do you think you could change to help the artists more?
maybe more funding, maybe more like funding to.
Where's the funding going to come from, though?
Or the government are keeping it in it. So I don't
Well,
know.
I'll tell you what, I've got a plan for that.
Yeah.
Right? And if it can work, it'll be amazing. I think a lot of people will get looked after. I think once a week, if every artist in the UK put £1 into a piggy bank or whatever, online, anywhere, and they went, right, this week we're going to look after Farmer G. Next week we're going to look after Caskie. Next week we're going to look after...
That'd be amazing.
And everyone puts in £1 a week. And the money goes to one person to do what they're doing, release your record. But obviously, you got the only thing is how we're going to police it to make sure that the right money goes to the right people and the people that are actually serious, that are going to make a difference, and it's not going to be selfish.
That's true.
But then the other side of it that might not work is someone might put in £1, and then as soon as they've had their opportunity, they know they ain't going to get another opportunity for another 2 years. So now they're not going to put any more money in. So it's all about people's integrity as artists to say, look, I want this to grow, and I'm going to put £1 in every week. It's £4 a month.
That's true.
But if there was 5,000 of us, that's a lot of money.
There is a concept to that, obviously. That's the Arts Council.
Yeah, but they're blocking it. They pick and choose who they want to succeed,
no,
and
they
they're not opening up the opportunities.
That's true.
So I don't know. I mean, it's something that I've been thinking about for a long time, and I just figure that if we could trust people's integrity,
It'd be great.
then something really could
That
happen.
does mean creating a platform. Like, I mean, you've already pretty much, you know what I mean? This is your platform. So obviously we will hope to see like expansion. I mean, it's amazing what you're doing. There's not too many platforms obviously out there that support hip hop, in particular UK hip hop anyway. We're sort of making waves slowly but surely. You can feel it with certain artists and stuff when they make it across seas. Like, you know, Ocean Wisdom managed to do a little bit of that, and there's various other artists that have done exactly that. But it's a hard scene to break. You know, it's a difference in language, isn't it? So,
Do you think artists even care about breaking? Because a lot of people I see, they're just doing things independently, and they just care about the music, the art.
oh, I mean, like, I feel that way because, like, let's be honest, like we mentioned, like, unless you're out there, like, performing live 2, 3, 4 times a week or wherever in various different places, you're not going to get paid because all of your payment at the moment, unless you're getting a sync deal or something like that, is going to come from your live shows. And if you're not generating any money, then how could you put it back into trying to reach another platform? Trying to get in the sync deal that you have to pay publishers, you have to pay all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, but if you want to generate that money, you got to put the work in. And putting the work in could often mean you might end up homeless, you might end up with nothing, blah, 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 because there's always a risk. Yeah, but if you really believe in yourself, then it's one of those situations where you just got to keep going, no matter what. Have you got any final words? Is there anything that you want to promote?
Got an album coming out with Sean Peng, an album coming out with my guy Mellow Mind. I've got a project coming out with Caskie. Yeah, just keep your eyes peeled because, yeah. And also Grey Sylva on Instagram. Check it out.
Do you want to spell it?
GREYSYLVA.
Yes, my name's Caskie. Yep, I've got my next project with Bad Batch coming out. It's gonna be called Everybody's on One. That's out on March the 1st on all platforms. My new video Zoinks is already out. We got another video coming for Everybody's on One, the single. So I'm looking forward to that. That's with my man Def Nick Visuals. Big up Def Nick. Thank you for all the work you put in. Likewise with Bad Batch, same thing. Yeah. And me and Sylva got a few tricks up our sleeve. Big up Pandemonium, I see you. Big up Five Loops, I see you. Big up Noisy Boy, I see you. I got a few things coming, don't worry.
So guys, hold on. The cameraman's there going like that. Tosser, what the fuck? Anyway, look like the middle finger's in the air. So guys, there you have it. There's Caskie and is it Grey Sylva or Silver Grey?
Either or.
Either or, because I've seen it both ways. Yeah, so Silver Grey, Grey Sylva, whatever, right? Go and check them out on their social media pages. I'll be putting the links in the description below. Make sure you follow them. Go support each other because that's the only way we're going to grow, by supporting each other. It's not about your clique and his clique and their. Come on, man. We can do this. We can do this. All right? Go follow them and hopefully catch you on the next one. All right. Peace. Take care.